Hey guys, this is Tracy Martin from the Lotus LLC. I had a question with a client come up about different types of collars and harnesses to use, what might be the best for her dog, Roscoe. So I just wanted to do a little bit of a video, kind of scratch the surface on different types of things that you can buy. There's so many on the market. It's going to be a very quick, brief intro kind of video. So let me know what you think. Hopefully this video helps if you can't decide between a harness and a collar, maybe give you some ideas and help you make a good decision. Alright guys, so the first thing I'm going to start off with is just a normal old collar. They're generally flat, usually have a buckle or some sort of clip at the end. These are really probably the most common thing out there. There's different colors and shapes, and you can get ones with spikes that look all cool. And so they're really great. Toby, my dog, he's got one on. I honestly got it from the dollar store. It's super cheap and it works really well. The thing I would like to stress most about those, and really about anything, is if you're going to use one of those, just have it be on its own. Attach the leash to something completely separate from the collar, because if you never know what's going to happen out there, and if something happens where that dog somehow gets away from the leash or backs out of whatever collar or anything you have on, if he is attached to a leash that's attached to a collar and his collar has all of his tags and name tag and phone number and rabies shots and everything on it, he gets out of that, boom, he's gone and you have no identification on that dog. So I would very, very highly recommend that you get one of those and just have it be on them all the time, but don't attach a leash to it. So my first point about these kind of collars is that they're easy to back out of. They have a set length. So if a dog suddenly, you're walking along and then he wants to go chase a squirrel or whatever, and you're holding them back, all they have to do is whip their little butts around so that they're facing you and back out of it, and boom, he's gone. So they're nice, but I wouldn't recommend them if you have a dog that pulls very often. It just wouldn't be something I would recommend at all. You can see Toby got a little bit bigger. Yes, he did. Yes, he did. He's a little boy. He's a good boy. Anywho, so the second kind of collar I want to talk about is a choker collar. So choker collars work on the principle of, your dog pulls, the collar tightens, and it's going to keep tightening until that dog kind of comes back, releases that pressure, and then it goes back to a slack. I don't like choker collars at all. So the whole principle is putting pressure on their neck, and that can cause a whole slew of issues. It can hurt them pretty bad. I've seen some pretty bad cases where dogs just pulled and pulled and pulled, and they didn't care that something was choking them, and they can easily be strangled by these things. So I've seen them. They're convenient to use. Like vet clinics and stuff will just take, a leash, slip it through, and boom, you've got a collar and leash all in one. But at home, I wouldn't recommend it at all. If a dog wants to pull and get somewhere, he's gonna pull and get somewhere, and it honestly doesn't really matter how much strain is on his neck. If your dog is determined enough, he's gonna keep going. So the next collar I'm going to talk about is a martingale collar. This is actually just happens to be the exact kind of collar that my client who had the questions about it, she has this. They are probably, as far as collars go, if you're going to attach the leash to a collar, I would honestly probably recommend this one. I don't like that it puts pressure around their neck, but the difference between the martingale and the choker collar is it's a set amount of choke, I guess you could say. So it's not going to choke them. It's not going to strangle them. If they pull real hard, like they're not going to die. They'll be fine. But it does tighten. So if the dog pulls, it's going to tighten a little bit, but only by a set amount, maybe like just a few inches. So if you have a dog that likes to turn around and back out of their collar, this is going to be a really good option for you because their collar is going to tighten to the point that they probably can't get it off, but it's not going to tighten to the point that they're going to hurt themselves either. Again, not my favorite thing to use in the world just because it does put pressure on their neck, and I don't like that as much. It really doesn't give you as much control as something like a harness will, but we'll get into that in a little bit. So if you really want to do a collar and you think that's going to be the best option for you and your family, I'd recommend the martingale because, like I said, it's going to be more effective than a normal flat collar, but it's also going to be much more kinder than a choker collar. So the next kind of thing that you have that you can use is a head harness. So basically, Gentle Leader, I've used that before with my dad's dog. They're very effective, and the way that they work is they have I'll put a picture on here, but they have a part that goes around their head right behind their ears, and then they've got a part that goes up and around their nose, and it comes down and it attaches like right around here, and it'll have a little D-ring on it, and your leash will attach to that. So basically you have just their head. And it works by when you pull on the leash, or when they pull and they make the leash tight, it tightens around their nose so that it's very, very uncomfortable. Not as bad as a neck collar, like a choker collar, same sort of principle, excuse me, but it's kinder. It's very effective, so if you're looking for kind of like a quick fix, I would definitely recommend these. The thing I don't really like about them, though, is, again, they put pressure somewhere that the dog probably really doesn't like. I guess that's the point, and it works, like I said, but long term, probably not going to work. It's not going to necessarily fix the behavior, it just kind of fixes it under certain circumstances. So the other thing about it too is because it goes over their nose, most dogs are not accustomed to that. So you generally have to train your dog to be okay with it and not freak out. So that takes a lot of time. So if your dog is already okay with it, awesome, good for you. But otherwise, a lot of dogs are going to freak out about it. And then you just have another problem on your hand. So that's one thing I would definitely say about those. But the other thing too is when I used it, I've never seen a dog try to get out of it while like we're walking, you know. But that said, because it just goes up and around their ears, in theory, it would probably be pretty easy for a dog to get out of it if they really wanted to. All they'd really have to do is turn around so they've got their facing you, and then just kind of do one of these. Right? And then it pops up over their ear. And granted, you're probably pulling on the leash, so it's probably making them really uncomfortable with their nose. So you could probably catch it in time, but maybe you're like looking at a bird or something and you just don't see it. If they just get that over their ears, it just slides right off their nose and they can be gone. So something to keep in mind. But Gentle Leaders, I like them. They're not what I use, but I like them. They're not bad. So the last kind of collar I'm going to talk about today is a shock collar. Bad. Ouch. Those things hurt. We actually, fun fact, we had those on our dogs when I was probably 12 years old or so. We had just moved into the city, and our dogs had always been used to just kind of roaming free around. We lived up in the middle of nowhere, so there's just kind of go wherever they wanted. So we bought these, and it worked with an underground fence that it was just a wire that you kind of put underground and just went all the way around the property. And the way that this works is you put it on your dog, or we used it for my cat too, actually. It was funny, we called her Bomb Kitty. Anyways, so it works by a couple prongs. So it'll have a kind of box, I guess you could say, and it goes right along their neck, and it's designed to have two prongs coming out that not necessarily, they don't really push into it, like it shouldn't be choking them or anything, but it's going to press against their neck. And when they get too close to the wire, at least the particular one that we had, it emitted a beep. So it'd be like, you get kind of close and be like beep, and then you get a little closer and be like beep beep, and a little closer and be beep beep, and then once you got to a certain point, it would shock. So what I noticed is our animals learned pretty well, and they turned their little tails and ran right away. The problem with these is it's very, very dangerous. So it can cause a lot of seizures. It can cause so many issues with your dog, and please don't do it, okay? Please. Because it's just not nice. I wouldn't like to be shocked, and to be honest, they're not the world's most effective thing in the world, because I remember our dogs, if they saw a dog across the street, they learned if they went fast enough through the gate, it didn't hurt, or it would stop anyways. So just please don't do it. Please. Okay? Promise. So the last thing we're going to talk about is harnesses. There's a bunch of different kinds of harnesses that you can get. So the first one we're going to talk about is a front-facing harness. So basically it works on the idea of, it puts the restraint, I guess you could say, on the body. So whereas a collar will put all the pressure on their neck, this one distributes it through their body. So it goes down their chest, behind their legs, and on their back. The front-facing harnesses will have a D-ring on their chest. So basically the idea is that you attach it to their chest. When they pull, it spins them around, which is nice because it will focus their attention back on you. The thing about those, I used one when I was fostering my dog Daphne. They're awkward, to be honest. They're awkward. If a dog really wants to pull, they're going to, and they're strong enough to not just be like, ooh, turning right around, you know. If they want to get somewhere and pull, they're going to, but in theory, it brings their attention back to you, which is a very, very important thing. Very useful tool to have, but it just makes it kind of awkward when they do pull. It just feels, I don't know, it's an awkward angle to be at. So they're not bad. They're pretty good, actually. It's just kind of your own personal preference. It just felt very awkward to use for me in my experience. The second kind of harness that you can get is just a general harness. It's got the D-ring, same thing as the front-facing harness, but the D-ring is going to be on their back. You know, there's pros and cons to everything. I'm a very, very big fan of harnesses. I use the rear-facing harnesses. It puts the pressure on their backs, and, well, not just their backs, but like their whole body. So you have much more control than you would if you just had control of their neck or their face. So very, very interesting. I like it, but I mean, same thing with everything. If your dog really wants to pull, they're going to, but when you kind of pull back or like jerk back or whatever, it's not going to affect them to the point of like pain. They're going to feel it and they're going to be like, whoa, what was that? That was weird. But they're not going to be hurt by it. Just kind of like a, hey, bring it back, tone it down, chill out. So they're nice, kind of to each their own. Some people don't like them because they can be potentially easy to get out of. Kind of the same thing. If you flip your butt around and pull right out, you can just kind of step out. But the harness gives you a lot more time than a collar would. So I like that. They do make harnesses that are like a no-pull harness. So when the dog tries to pull or get out, it tightens around their legs, right behind their legs. So they literally can't wiggle out. So that's an option as well. But yeah, very, very big fan of harnesses just in general. Definitely recommend them. So the last kind of harness that we're going to talk about today is called a soft harness. This just happens to be what I use for Toby. Same general idea as really a back-facing harness, except that instead of straps, it's got kind of like a vest part. Ugh, so you can see Toby's got his on. So whereas a normal one would just kind of come down, this one has a whole thing about it. Plus, they're really cute. I mean, look at him. He's got a tie. You're such a fancy puppy. You've got a tie. Yeah. Okay, all right, I'll put you down. So there's really not too much of a difference between those and the normal rear-facing harnesses. They might be a little bit easier to put on because it's not so many straps. It makes it a little bit easier to figure out initially. Plus, like I said, they're really cute. You can't get a tie harness with a normal kind of harness. Those are only the soft harnesses. So I definitely like them. They are for sure, obviously, my choice to use, what I think is going to be best, and 100% what I recommend. Before I go, I do want to mention if you have a brachycephalic breed in particular. What? A brachycephalic breed. It means the breeds of dogs with their nose smushed in. So pugs, boxers, those kinds of dogs, particularly pugs. If you have one of those dogs, please, please, please do not use a choker collar. Honestly, I'd stay away from collars altogether. And although all dog breeds are susceptible to this, these dogs in particular are the most susceptible. Their eyes can pop out. What? Yeah, no, their eyes can pop out. It's a real thing. It's called proptosis, and it happens particularly with dogs that have shallow eye sockets. So what can happen is if they have too much pressure on their neck, among other causes, it can create a kind of pressure that literally pops their eyes out. As you can imagine, very, very dangerous situation. Take them to the vet immediately. Once they're there, it's actually not too bad of a prognosis. About 27% of dogs that this happens to are able to get their eye kind of shoved back in and their vision's good to go again. Other times the eye has to be completely removed. You could get like plastic surgery. Lots of different things can happen, but like I said, if this happens, please, please, please take your dog to the vet and just avoid it altogether by not using those collars on those kinds of dogs. Like I said, it can happen to any dog breed, but in particular, those dogs, please just don't do it, okay? Alright guys, so that is my video. Let me know what you think. Comment below, what do you use? What do you find are pros and cons of the different types of harnesses and collars I've mentioned? Just let me know. I'm curious. Hopefully this video was helpful. Like and subscribe for more videos like this, and we'll be seeing you. Bye.